There is absolutely no doubt that God created a powerful symbol for us in the stars. They punch light in the darkness, and they lift our eyes up. They twinkle down at us, causing us to wonder, what is beyond the darkness? It is not surprising to me that a shiny, bright, brilliant star would play a central role in the Christmas story. Well, growing up in northern Michigan, I used to be able to walk out on my dock at night and look up at all the stars. My dad, he used to love to go out and look at the stars. And he taught us to find the North Star and the big and the little dippers. Now, the North Star is also called Polaris, and it's directly overhead the North Pole. So this means that whenever we point towards the spot on the horizon directly below the North Star, we must be pointing north. And when the sun sets at night, sailors used to use the stars to navigate. My dad was a big sailor, and so he loved, I think, this connection between the stars and the sea and navigation. Well, stars would move across the sky from east to west, and some stars they were called rise and set stars, and they would begin and end their nightly path below the horizon. So sailors who were determined to navigate, they would use the stars, and they would watch the movement of the stars the same way that they watched the sun's movement during the day. Well, it's amazing. God created the stars not only to light up the night sky, but also to help people navigate their way. They were the original GPS. Stars lit up the sky, and they lit up the way for people to find their way around. Now, the writer of Psalms, David, in Psalm 147:4 says, "He determines the number of the stars and calls them each by name." God knows all the stars. He created them. He knows them by name, both the ones in the night sky and the ones that, well, let's just say light up the big screen. Hey, I live in LA now, and I am just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Hollywood. And we have so much light pollution out here that it's pretty hard to see the night sky. I don't get to see the glory of the stars around me very often. But there's always a big to-do around me about human Hollywood stars. People get pretty worked up around here about star sightings. There are tours to see stars' homes and endless tabloids and magazines and newspapers and entertainment shows that constantly report on every aspect of stars' lives. I kind of feel bad for them. It is 24/7. Well, Hollywood loves their stars so much, they even created the Walkway of Stars, and they put big gold shiny star on the sidewalk with famous people's names on them. It's the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it's a historic landmark which has more than 2,700 stars embedded in the sidewalk along 15 blocks down by Hollywood Boulevard, and then there's 3 blocks of Vine Street in Hollywood. The stars are permanent public monuments to the achievements in all the entertainment industry, and they have all kinds of names on them. It's a mix of actors and directors and producers, musicians, theatrical and musical groups, and fictional characters. Well, so we've taken stars from the sky and put them on the sidewalk. You see, stars in the night sky are so awesome. And I think we've tried to get in on their splendor by adopting their name for famous people who are well known. We call them stars. Now, when we think about stars, God originally made a covenant with Abraham back in the Old Testament that he would be the father of all nations. Abraham had steadfast faith, unquestioning obedience, and was constantly seeking God. And this is why God chose to bless him in this way. In Genesis 22:17, he says, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. You see, the stars were symbolic of many countless blessings. And David, the psalmist, wrote of God's glory in Psalm 19:1, saying, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. See, there is absolutely no doubt that God created a powerful symbol for us in the stars. They punch light in the darkness and they lift our eyes up. They twinkle down at us, causing us to wonder, what is beyond the darkness? It is not surprising to me that a shiny, bright, brilliant star would play a central role in the Christmas story. Matthew 1:1-2 tells us, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose, and we've come to worship him. There was a star sighting back then too, but it wasn't a Hollywood star. Oh no, it was a real star in the sky. A star appeared over Jesus to guide people to him. Every year, my family loves to watch the movie The Star because it focuses on the power of the star drawing people to Jesus. It lit the way for the shepherds and for the wise men to go to Bethlehem and find Jesus. And just as stars always have done, this star provided the roadmap to find their way. They also have done something else that sometimes we overlook. Stars provide hope. They provide a glimmer of light in darkness. They remind us that all is not lost. All is not completely dark. Stars twinkle and glimmer to spark hope in our hearts. Light is still more powerful than the dark. God created the stars, and I wonder if when he hung each one, he said, hold on to hope. Hold on to hope, my friend. The dark night of the soul is not the end of the story. These stars will glimmer in the darkness each and every night to be a constant reminder at the end of every day that hope is alive. Romans 15:4 says, for everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance taught in the scriptures and the encouragement they provide, we might have hope. Hope. That's what we're to hold on to. And that hope points us to the person of Jesus at Christmas time. Romans 15:12 says, and again, Isaiah says, the root of Jesse will spring up, one who will arise to rule over the nations. In him, the Gentiles will hope. Well, for you and me, most of us, we are the Gentiles. We are the fulfillment of that prophecy. Now, hope is one of those words that I love. Hope is belief that the future can be better than the past. It is the confidence that God is working good for those who love him. Hope assures us that there is more to come. Your story is not over. It is still being written. Hope is what can lift us up out of despair. I love hope so much. Now, I wanted to hang a giant hope sign in my house, and one of my best friends told me about these cool large letters at Hobby Lobby when we first bought our house a bunch of years ago. So I headed over and I found an H, and then an O, and then a P, but they were out of E's. So I only had me some hop, not some hope. Well, I thought I could find an E at one of the other stores, but all the stores around me had no E's. Oh. Now, you know you have a true friend when she went to the store and found an E in her Michigan store and shipped it out to me in California so that I could turn my hop into some hope. Well, once I had my letters, my husband was not very excited about hanging the letters up. He had just graduated with his PhD right when the economy declined in 2008. Now, the year before he got his degree, there were over 70 openings for New Testament teaching positions around the country. And during that economic decline, it plummeted to only 3 positions in the entire country. It was a hard and discouraging time for us. It seemed like we kept hitting wall after wall after wall rather than open doors. But I was determined to hold on to my hope, both figuratively and literally. Well, I finally got him to help me hang the letters up. And guess where he finally got a job? At Hope International University. I'm not kidding. So cool. He still works there today. So we still have those letters up in our living room, and it reminds our entire family every day to hold on to hope. Now, in the Christmas story, we are also pointed to the hope of Jesus through that star that appeared in the night sky. It was there for the shepherds to guide them, but Matthew also tells us that the star was there to guide some wise men, some magi. These magi were from Persia, and they traveled west to visit Jesus to pay honor to this new king of all kings. Scripture says that after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, magi from the east came to Jerusalem. And they asked, "Where is the one who has been born, King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." That's in Matthew 2, 1 through 2. Well, depending on where their journey originated in Persia, it's hard to know how long it took the wise men to travel. Now, some scholars estimate that it could have taken 4 months for them to travel that distance. We just don't have all the details, so it's difficult to know how old Jesus was when the wise men visited him. Now, some scholars opt for a larger window, believing that Jesus was somewhere between 6 and 20 months old, and others opt for 13 months or older because a child that is 13 months old may have been considered in his second year. So it's just hard to know exactly how old Jesus was. We don't have a lot to go on here. But we do know that the wise men went to visit the local ruler of the time. The bright light of that star stands in stark contrast to the dark evil that Herod was about to unleash. You know, his jealousy blinded him to the hope that Jesus was bringing to humanity. And he struck out using his power to try to eradicate Jesus. Now, this would be the first of many attempts to stop Jesus, and it began right from his birth. Herod the Great was the ruler. He was the king of Judea, and he was king from 37 BC to 4 BC, appointed by the Roman Empire after its Senate equipped him with an army to fight off a Parthian invasion. Now, prior to the invasion, he'd been born governor of Galilee. He had been governor of Galilee since 47 BC. And he is called Herod the Great because of his colossal building projects throughout Judea, including his renovation of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, the expansion of the Temple Mount towards its north, the enclosure around the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron, the construction of the port in Caesarea Maritima, the fortress at Masada, and Herodium. So he was called Herod the Great because he was a master builder. He really did a lot of good, even though his personality was very complicated and difficult. When Herod learned that Jesus was born, he called for the deaths of all boys 2 years and younger, which leads people to believe that the wise men may not have visited until Jesus was closer to 2 years old. So Herod, he had called a secret meeting with the Magi to learn what time this bright star had first appeared in the sky. He wanted to learn the precise time that Jesus was born. And when King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem, in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." And then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." Matthew 2, 3 through 8. So he was being devious, he didn't really want to go worship Jesus. He wanted just to find out so that he could get rid of Jesus, who was a threat to his rule. He didn't want a new king in town. Now, whenever the Magi told him, it's not recorded in the Bible, but because Herod decided to horrifically order an extermination of any boy close in age to the information he got about the star appearing, we know that it could have been maybe 2 years after he was born. But Herod could also have been so angry and frustrated that he was just exaggerating the breadth and depth of action taking against someone who could be a threat to his throne. Herod was just not a stable human being. He was paranoid, he was cruel, and he was relentless. He would go to any length to secure his power and establish his legacy. He killed members of his immediate family when he suspected them of turning on him. He also decreed the deaths of 2,000 Jewish leaders when he died to ensure that his subjects would be in a state of mourning when he died. He just didn't believe that people would be sad that he died. And so he's like, let's kill a bunch of people and then somebody will be mourning. Well, thankfully, the 2,000 deaths did not actually occur, but it shows the depths of evil that Herod would go. Now, we don't know how many baby boys were killed in Bethlehem. Bethlehem in the first century was likely less than about 1,000 people, so there wouldn't have been that many. There have been rumors of mass slaughter that have been greatly exaggerated because Bethlehem was very small. There was a high infant mortality rate, and if the total population was about 1,000 with an annual birth rate of about 30 babies, the male children under 2 years of age was likely no more than 20 at max, which is still horrific and awful and unimaginable. Don't get me wrong. Any baby that doesn't get to survive is such a heartbreak. We just had a wonderful surprise this year at Christmas. We were all texting each other, and my niece Lindsay, who was expecting a baby, woke up on Christmas morning at 5 a.m. in labor on Christmas morning and delivered a beautiful, healthy baby boy at 7:30 a.m. That's the way to do it. So our family has a little Christmas joy boy. Every child is precious and every life is valuable. So this edict by Herod was completely evil. It would have devastated so many dear families. Now, there are not additional resources, historical references to this event, and as awful as it was, it just probably did not compare in size and scope to some of the atrocity of the hundreds or thousands being killed in other moments in time that historians did record. Now, after the Magi had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star that they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. Matthew 2, 9 through 10. That star, it brought joy. That light represented hope to them, and they followed that light. And later in Revelation, Jesus would refer to himself as the bright morning star. He says, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you about these things for the churches. I am the root and the descendant of David, the bright morning star. See, that star, that bright morning star, is a star that remains stable and powerful and directs us to the north, to the right place to go. Hope rises. That was kind of weird. Jesus is that bright morning star, is that stable star, like the North Star that gives us a directional arrow to which we can orient our whole lives. You see, hope rises in the night sky to light the way for each of us. People who live with hope shine like stars in this world. When you have hope, you can feel strong and full of possibility. When you are hopeless, it can make you feel weak and void of opportunity. But hope is positive. Hope is uplifting. Hopelessness is negative and can make you feel so sorrowful. Hope leads to happiness and joy. Hopelessness can leave you sad and miserable. But with hope, you look forward to something. And hopelessness often brings just dread and disillusionment. Ultimately, we can look forward with hope to the day that we will be reunited with Jesus. One day, he has promised to come back for those who live with faith and believe in him. And we also live with hope that Jesus is alive and working in our lives here and now on earth. That gives us hope that we are not left alone. We are not left in a situation that cannot change. And we are not left in a world where evil triumphs. We are a people of hope. Philippians 2:15-16 calls us to be like those stars of hope in our world. Become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation. And then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life. You see, one of the best ways to cope is to live with hope, right? One of the best ways to cope is to live with hope. With any situation, we need to ask, where is the hope? In 1 Peter 1:1, Paul refers to Jesus as our hope. Our hope is not a wish or a dream. It is a person. It is our God. It is this amazing Christmas miracle joy boy, Jesus. And you know, as angels appeared to the Magi after they visited Jesus and told them to avoid Herod and go a different route, an angel also appeared again to Joseph in a dream and warned him that Herod was trying to kill Jesus. So that Holy Family departed to Egypt and remained there until the death of Herod. And Matthew lets us know that they did not stay there for forever, but they did actually get to return to the land. Herod died, and after Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up and take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel. For those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." And so he did. He got up, he took the child and Mary, his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee. And he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled what was said through the prophets, that he would be called a Nazarene. And that's the passage that kind of concludes that section in Matthew 2:19-23. So as we think about the star, as we think about this idea of hope, may you live with hope to help you cope, whatever situation you face today, not only during the holiday season, but every day.